Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on the Creativity channel, where we talk about creativity, inspiration, and it's where I interview different artists, designers, and creative people, and basically talk about all of everything to do with creativity. So today, my guest is the wonderful Sophie Amelia, who is a surface pattern designer, and you're currently studying textile design at Leeds Arts University, and you finished your second year at university currently now, and hopefully you got the grades you wanted.
I did, yeah. I got the grades back today. It all went well.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear, and you should be really proud of yourself
Thank you.
for achieving all of that and everything throughout this year. My first question is, could you describe yourself in a few sentences?
Yeah.
Or what do you do in general?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm a surface pattern designer and I specialise in home interior products and accessories, and I'm a screen printer, so that is where I'm most often found, is in the print room doing a bit of screen printing. So my work, I like everything that's abstract, quite bold, expressive. I love colour and putting together colour palettes. Yeah, that sums me up in a couple of sentences there.
Yeah, no, that's great. That is amazing. Yeah. I've really noticed that, you really do use a lot of screen printing, and it's kind of a central part of your practice really, and what you do, especially on your Instagram and through all your stories and things. You can definitely see that, you're nearly always in there going in and just spending the whole day just printing, because yeah, I can see you really enjoy that. And
Definitely. I think I really like the handmade quality that it gives to everything that I make. I think that it sort of it brings it to that extra level of a handmade product, going through all the stages from designing to then having a finished pattern, but then actually printing it yourself. It just gives you that extra layer of like connection with the finished design.
yeah, I think that's certainly an aspect that people admire nowadays, is things that are made by hand, with Etsy and things like that, and with so many creators on there, that it's becoming more and more popular to, you know, create your own and not support, the mass production industry and things like that. So yeah, it's great to see you going in a sort of more, I don't know if you'd call it a niche direction, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I do try and let my work have like a bit of a USP, like something unique about it. I'm sure we'll get into
exactly.
that later. But yeah, I think it is one thing that makes my work stand out a little bit, that it is all handmade. Because as much as screen printing, using the same screens, everyone is just going to be that slight bit different. So you do get that individuality between all the different prints.
Yeah, exactly. And I totally agree. There's no one in the world that designs like you. So if they come to you and, buy something from you, then that design is going to be totally unique to any other design in the world. It's made by the one and only, person. So yeah, I think that's what attracts lots of people to that really, is that personal connection, like you mentioned. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So I'll move on to my next question if it's okay with you. Um, so we're talking about really you being a student, and your experiences and in uni and things like that. So I just wanted to go a bit further back in time and ask you, how did you know that you wanted to study textile design or a creative subject? How did you know that that's the thing you wanted to study at uni and later maybe do as a career?
Yeah, so I think I've always been quite creative since I was a child. I've loved little crafty projects. I've tried out everything over the years, painting, working with clay, embroidery. Like I'll just do a little bit of everything since I was young. Um, and then when I was at high school, I was really pushed. I was quite academic and I was really pushed to do like sciences and maths. And my original plan was to go to sixth form and do biology, chemistry, physics, and maths.
Oh,
But after over the summer, after I sort of put those options in, I realised it wasn't what I was passionate about, and it wasn't what I wanted to do, and it wasn't what I enjoyed. So last minute, I was like, okay, what creative subjects does the sixth form have? I'll just swap to those. So I ended up doing business, product design, and graphic communications. It's not particularly that creative, um,
Wow.
especially not business. But I only lasted halfway through my first year before I thought this isn't working for me. And I started looking into other options, and I found out about the extended diploma at Leeds Arts University. And it wasn't something that was advertised to me while I was at high school. I had no idea about it. But luckily at that point it wasn't too late. And what I decided to do was leave sixth form after my first year, and then I transferred over to the extended diploma course. And I was traveling from Doncaster to Leeds, so I was going quite a long way on the train, but it was
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
worth it, because being around all the different creative people, it was the best decision I ever made, to sort of embrace my creativity and just go full on doing an art and design course all the time. I think that in high school, the arts just really aren't valued as much as they should be, and I think that's probably why I never even knew that it was an option, to study.
Mm,
I'm glad that I eventually found out about it, and that's how I ended up where I am now. And even when I was on the extended diploma, initially I thought I wanted to be a graphic designer,
yeah.
but that's the nice thing about the course is that you get to try out a bit of everything. And by towards the end of my first year on extended diploma, I'd found about, well, then it was called printed textiles and surface pattern design, which is the degree course that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Now they call it textile design. And
Okay.
yeah, I just thought if I'm going to do a degree, that's the degree that I wanted to do. And it was the only degree I applied to. I didn't look, I probably don't recommend this. I didn't go to any other open days. I didn't like look at any other courses. I was like, I want to do that degree. And if it's not that one, then it'll be none. And then luckily I got onto the course, and that's what
Oh,
I'm
that's
doing
great.
now.
Wow. No, that's a really whistle stop tour summary. Thank you so much for that.
It's all
Yeah.
right.
No, but yeah, I suppose you must have loved it so much on extended diploma that you know, you just there was just no other option. You just wanted to continue on to Leeds Arts University because you knew about, all the facilities and you know, you wanted to be in that creative atmosphere. I don't think you really wanted to leave, but I can't blame you for it really.
No, that is exactly right. The environment was brilliant, or being around like-minded creative people, and the facilities at the university are great. So I thought I don't want to go anywhere else. I mean, Leeds a great city as well, not too far from like Doncaster where I'm from originally. So I was like, it's perfect. I just want to stay here.
Great. Yeah, yeah, distance wise and everything, it just suited you the best. But yeah, I think that difference between, studying something academic and the arts, like you mentioned earlier, about them not being valued as much, I totally agree with you on that one. I feel like, yeah, in school, it's just not really admired, or it's not really, mentioned a lot in school and in high school and things like that. And yeah, I just think it's a shame, really.
It is
But
a shame, and I hope that that's something that I could make a difference in the future. Upcoming, I'm doing a few workshops in a high school that was. It wasn't the high school that I went to, but it was a local high school in Doncaster. And I'm going to visit there and introduce them to the world of surface design. And I'll be doing a screen printing demo. And I hope by doing activities like that with high school students now that I can help them find out about these options that they might not know about currently, and sort of hopefully inspire them to sort of maybe potentially pursue the arts.
wow, that's amazing. Yeah, no, that's a super great idea. Yeah, I think if we're going to change anything, that we have to be the change, and we've just got to, start doing it and start spreading the word about these things, because yeah, I think creativity is a central part of life, really. It's,
Definitely.
it's in everything. You can't really not, you know, not study it or not come in contact with it, because it's in everything. It's in everything that a person touches, really. So we're talking about textile design and what you've studied and why you've decided to go and study that. Well, in the beginning you really thought to go in a more graphic design direction, which kind of surprised me, but then there's also that link with screen printing as well, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you got sort of combining the two, sort of the process of screen printing, which is mostly used by graphic designers as well. You're combining that with the textile aspect as well. So I wanted to ask you, like, what's your own definition of textile design, like in your own words? Because I'm not really a super big, expert in the field. I don't know quite a lot about it. I've not really ventured in that area, but how would
Okay.
you describe
Yeah.
textile design to someone who doesn't know what that is, or they've not come across it before?
I definitely think that textile design, that encompasses a really huge range of different like techniques. And I think initially when people think of textiles, a lot of people think of knitting and weaving and embroidery and things like that. But to me, for me, textile design is more about surface design. So I've in my time I've explored a lot of different materials. I've used, paper, metal, plastic, jesmonite, but the majority of the time I work with wood and fabrics. And to me, textile design is about designing patterns for a surface. But that surface could be anything really. But I do like to stick to wood and fabric mostly because I find that they're the easiest to then make into a like physical product when I've finished with the design. So yeah, to me, textile design, I like to think of it more as about a surface pattern design.
Yeah, yeah, right. So what I'm getting is that it's applying sort of the design aspect to a material that then can be
Yeah,
either turned into an object or turned into a garment or a dress or a piece of clothing or anything really. So it's putting that element of design onto a material that can then be used for something else.
and even within the field of like surface design, it's so broad because some people that do my course, they work digitally and some people work by hand. And then even within then, some people work really like photorealism drawings and things like that, and some people work really abstractly like me. And then even within that, there's people that design for fashion, for women's wear, men's wear, children's wear. Some people design for gift and greetings, so cards, wrapping paper, gift bags. And then some people design for home interiors, upholstery fabric, cushions. It really is such a wide field, even just within that smaller subcategory of surface design. So the possibilities are endless with it, really.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that, that's quite a wide sort of area that it covers. And you can sort of pick and choose and experiment really. And I guess
Definitely.
that's what your course is really about, maybe is just to trying out different materials, seeing what you like working with and what you don't, and then seeing what direction that takes you in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, that's a great definition. I feel much more, informed about it. But yeah, I was surprised actually about that it covers such a wide sort of spectrum, really, of things.
Yeah, I think it's definitely quite a commercial field. It can be, but again, it depends on how each individual designer decides to take their work. I know that there are people in my course who work in quite a fine art way, and they make these patterns that go onto wood or fabric to just be giant art pieces. But there are also people who like to design, really saleable products like children's um onesies or like you know little matching outfit sets, or like things like birthday cards and wrapping paper that you could have it as all as a big set together. So there's definitely a lot of different routes you could take surface pattern in.
Yeah, yeah. So having it applied to sort of a home area setting instead
Yeah.
of a more fashion setting, or a more, like card and gift sort of setting, like you mentioned. So what made you go directly into like home interior?
Well, that's a good question. Do you know, honestly, I'm not even that sure. Fairly ironically, my wardrobe is like 90% black and white. I don't
Right.
wear patterns myself. I just like to keep the patterns within the home realm. And I have always been really interested in interior design. So maybe that has something to do with it as well, that I just like home interiors and I like to wear my plain clothes. So maybe that's why I ended up going down that route. I also find like it's been easy for me to make my things into stuff like cushions and plant pots. So that's been what's been like accessible to me when I've wanted to make something into a final product. That's a little bit easier than making like a whole garment. So that's just what I've explored so far, but I am really enjoying it. Who knows, maybe one day I might branch out into the fashion or the gift and greetings departments. But for now, I'm quite happy over in the home design area.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like that's kind of the sort of a big difference is between art and design maybe is that with design is you're sort of putting your own design or piece of art onto a thing that then becomes like a product that you then sell, I suppose. But you could also argue that that is art really, is because you're the designer, you make all the decisions of how the product is supposed to look, how is it supposed to feel, what is it made out of, and things like that. So do you think of yourself as an artist or more of as a designer?
I do consider myself to be a designer, but I understand where you're coming from, particularly, in the sense of if you were to design like a wall hanging, that would then for the home, that would kind of be an art piece in itself rather than a product. So I think the lines are definitely very blurred between the
Yeah.
two. But if someone were to ask me what I would do, I would tell them that I'm a designer.
Okay. On your website, I noticed that you said, sort of on the about section, it says, I've got it written down here, that you aim to explore the sense of presence created by objects, which I found really a really nice description and a really interesting one as well. That, you're sort of suggesting that objects have a presence. And I was wondering, could you, explain that a bit further as to what that presence is?
By presence, I mean the way in which a certain like environment or objects within our environment can provoke different types of feelings and emotions. So maybe this is just the way that I personally experience my environment, but to put that in perspective of my different projects, so I did a project called In the Studio, and that was about print rooms and art studios, and for me they have a really comforting presence. And then I also did a project about what was called natural formations, and that was about rock formations. Specifically, I was looking at Brimham rocks. I don't know if you've been
Oh
before.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
definitely heard of it. I always wanted to go, but I've not been there yet.
Yeah, it's a great place. It's like these rocks that have been eroded, and they've sort of made themselves into like sculptures. That these really big rocks that are like balanced, and they have quite a bold, intimidating, maybe like overshadowing presence, I think. But then because of the natural environment they're in, out in the open fields, like it's still quite, they're beautiful to observe and look at. So what I kind of try to do is look at the way different environments make you feel and different objects within those environments, how they like have their own presence. I did a project about sculpture and ceramics, and to me, like when I was visiting these ceramics galleries, everything was quite on edge because I'm like, I don't want to break anything, everything's very fragile, and it's just sort of about how we experience different environments and how that makes us feel.
Right. No, I totally understand that, especially for me when I go into a museum or gallery and there's lots of vases around or even a shop. It's that maybe I sort of know what you mean. You get that sense of, material that, oh, this is either porcelain or it's made of
Yeah.
something fragile. So I guess you get that sense of fragility then that, this is a fragile object. Or if something's made of wood and is big and heavy and blocky, then you could sort of feel that as well through the material and through the way it's designed. So uh, is that sort of the presence that you're talking about, is sort of the feelings that come with an object and
Yeah,
how
that is
you
exactly it.
experience it really.
Yeah, and I think how I come to that conclusion was I basically looked through all the projects that I had ever done since I started college, even back in like GCSEs, and I tried to think what linked them all, was I like subconsciously drawn to within my projects, because these ideas come to us, but why are those specific ideas coming to us? And I had to think about, look at all my projects and lay them out and go, what am I being drawn to in all of these projects? And that's when I came to that sort of conclusion. It's sort of about the exploring how different environments and objects make us feel, and yeah, that's where I came up with that.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, but there seems to sort of be like a connection between like the natural world and your own, sort of products and pieces that you create as well and in your designs. Do you feel like you're inspired by nature a lot of the time?
Yeah, I think I have taken quite a lot of inspiration from nature in the past. But equally, I think I'm not particularly interested in like little ditzy flowers or, leaves and things like that. I'm more
Yeah,
interested in these sort of interesting, unique, natural forms like the
yeah,
rocks. And, I looked at like petrification and water streams, like carving out these different shapes and things. And I tend to be drawn to these quite like large, interesting, unique occurrences versus like the sort of what you might initially think of when you think of nature, like forests and
yeah,
hills,
yeah.
things like that. I try to look at the more interesting and unique things that you might come across.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense instead of like the sort of cliche obvious aspects of what you
Yeah,
think of when you think of nature. It's more of the sort of abstraction, because that really comes through your screen prints and through your designs as well, is kind of the shapes that you see in nature that are quite abstracted, but from looking at your designs you get the feeling of it, of that it's coming from nature, but it doesn't physically or clearly
represent it.
obviously
Yeah.
represents it with a flower or a tree or something,
And that is
which
something that I try to do. I try to have my designs sort of emulate and take inspiration from, and look like they have the essence of the thing that they are inspired by, rather than just looking like the thing that they are inspired by. I try to capture the essence of what I'm observing and put that into the design.
oh, that's a great way of describing it, essence. Yeah, I feel like with the presence as well, like that's sort of it really. It's the presence and the what was the word again that you
Essence.
used? Essence, not
Yeah.
presence, essence. Yeah. It's the essence of the objects, isn't it? And it's kind of like their essence and their sort of personality as well, really. Like
Yeah.
you could really call it that. I don't know. Like for me, I feel like, yeah, some like I would call it a personality. Like if you want to personify, objects and things, like if they were a person, what kind of a person would they be? And you
Yeah.
sort of get that sense from an object in that way as well, which is interesting. How important is sustainability in your practice? Because we're sort of talking about nature and how that influences and inspires your designs, and how, we're talking about the material and how materials have different properties and aspects that can make us feel certain ways. So I'm wondering as well, what are your thoughts on sustainability? And yeah, what are your thoughts on it? And whether
Yeah.
you,
So I think that sustainability is always going to be a really important part of my practice, and I think that these days it should be for everybody, just the standard. And there are so many different facets to sustainability. So, environmental sustainability, of course, but also social sustainability and personal well-being. And I try to sort of cover all of those in my work where possible. So ways in which I sort of focus on sustainability include trying to design timeless designs. So
yeah,
designs where the colours aren't too garish, the patterns aren't too sort of a bit much, so that people won't, have them in the house for a month or so and then go, oh, I've gone off that a bit now, I want to
yeah,
change
yeah,
up. I try to pick, colour palettes and things that sort of have longevity,
yeah,
quite
yeah,
neutral, like things that people can like for a long time.
yeah,
Um, and I also try to design all over patterns, so patterns where you can cut from any bit of the fabric and the design still makes sense.
oh right, okay,
So that helps to reduce waste when you're cutting out your pattern pieces, if you're making, your fabric into like a product.
Oh yeah.
And if I do end up with any like offcuts, I try to repurpose those into like smaller products and just try not to waste them.
Yeah.
This morning I was actually sampling making some little key fobs, because I had these sort of long strips of fabric that were offcuts when I
Oh
made
yeah.
some. So I was like, I'll see what I can make with those, and I've made those into little key fobs to try and reduce waste where possible. Yeah, and a lot of my work does explore themes of well-being. For example, in the studio collection, that was about how spending time in creative spaces and creative environments, how that can have a positive impact on well-being from being in those sort of spaces. Yeah, so they're sort of like some of the ways I try and cover sustainability within my own work.
Like you mentioned in the beginning, I feel like sustainability should be a normal thing now, and it should be, ingrained in the practice of every single person in every industry. We should all be minimizing the waste and, thinking of creative ways to use off cuts. And I think that's a really great way of using your creativity as well to think of new ways. Oh, right, I've got this thing, what can I do with it instead of throwing it away, because it'll just end up in landfill and no one, the earth won't thank you for that. But
Right, and I
yeah,
know that textiles, I believe, is the biggest polluter. So I think as textile designers, particularly, we have got a duty of responsibility to try and work on that moving forward and make a positive impact within the industry to not be so environmentally damaging.
yeah, I feel like it's really good, how you mentioned in the beginning about the colors and the sort of designs that you use as well being quite neutral and quite long lasting. I think that's what you said. Yeah, I feel that coming from your work as well. It's like it's timeless, really. You could use it at any point, and I feel like that's really important, especially nowadays with younger people and the younger generation sort of following trends and things,
Yeah,
either in
I do.
fashion or
I sort of kind of try to actively avoid fast fashion trends. I don't particularly engage with trend research, sort of online, like upcoming trends for spring and summer. I try to
yeah,
avoid where I can. I do find that sometimes my university work calls to me to have to do that. But I
yeah,
try to look at trends that are long term,
yeah.
things that, and especially things like nature, that stays, it never really goes out of
No,
fashion. But yeah, I try to think about longevity when I'm designing, rather than just sort of like a fashion fad that people won't like anymore in a month's time.
exactly. Yeah. And I think it'll make you love the product even more, if it's well made, made either by hand, by a specific designer, like we mentioned in the beginning, that if something is made by hand, then you've got that personal connection to it and, you just value it even more. And the longer
Definitely.
you can stay with an object or a product, then even better, really. For
And with a lot of the patterns, because I will design one large print and then that'll get cut into smaller pieces. So from that one print, I might make 3 different products, but each one is going to be totally different, even though it's the same print, because it's cut from a different area of the fabric. Although it looks the same and you can tell that they're part of the same print, each one is really unique. And I think that adds another, like, it makes each individual piece more special, and hopefully that'll make people want to treasure them and keep them for a long time.
Yeah, hopefully, definitely. I feel it will. I get that feeling that it definitely will. So we're talking about sort of not following trends and making things more long lasting. I also noticed on your website that you sort of describe your work as mid-century modern, or it sort of describe like is inspired by mid-century modern. And I've never come across that sort of term or movement or design movement, or I don't know what you'd call it really. So could you
Um,
explain really what that is and why it inspires you?
yeah, so I mean, I've always had a bit of an affinity for like retro mid-century design, and anyone who has seen my house can definitely attest to that. It sort of spans like the mid of the 1900s, so I want to say
Oh,
like the
right.
1950s to the 1970s. And in particular, there was a lot of advancements made in like architecture and furniture. So I like tried to draw a lot of inspiration from those times, particularly colour palettes from the mid-century modern period as well. I think those graphics was really popular around then, so I think it's something that you really like as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Sort of like the Bauhaus school, it's that sort of era.
Oh,
Um,
right.
yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah.
and I think that as well links back to me really liking interior design, and why I design for homewares now. So yeah, I do like to take a bit of inspiration from that era
Yeah.
when I'm designing. That also is like around when the abstract expressionist era was as well. So I take some inspiration from that sort of design period. But in terms of
Yeah.
like more um, actual like specific artists that I take inspiration from, I would tend to say that I draw more inspiration from more contemporary artists. So like Eve Campbell is someone who's a practice that I really admire, as well as Laura Slater. She's actually one of my tutors.
Oh, right.
And I really like how they both sort of value process and like a handmade quality within their work as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question is like who is your sort of biggest inspiration, either designer, artist, or another person, who would that be? But yeah, you've just given us two great examples. But yeah, if you could narrow it down to one person, would you be able to do that really? As like one person who you really look up to, or
Honestly, I'm not sure because even just narrowing it down to, Eve Campbell and Laura Slater, there's so many other designers that whose work I really admire. Um, so it's really hard to say. My sort
yeah.
of artist research book is always overflowing because I'm constantly finding new artists and I love how they use texture, I love how they use colour, and I'll add them to the little book. So yeah, that's one of my favourite parts in my projects is doing like that initial contextual research, artist research. So I couldn't narrow it down to pick one.
No, I think that question also really sort of your answer will change with time and depending on
Yeah,
how your work progresses and your practice and things like that, you will also, be inspired by different people, come across different, ideas and inspirations. So it sort of will change really in a
definitely. I think a year ago and the year before that and the year before that, my answer would always
bit
it would always
different.
be different. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. The same with me, really. It just, yeah, you just come across different people and, you develop as well. And yeah, you just keep on discovering, really. So you keep
I
on
think
evolving and changing. So,
I am very much sort of in the early stages of discovering who I am as a designer, what I like to make, what sort of styles I like to work in. So it's very much early days, and it's always changing as well.
exactly. And yeah, that's another good question, really, is do you feel like we should always be changing? Because I don't know, maybe if you're starting your own sort of business or sort of a brand, really, then maybe there is that sort of pressure to stay within a certain sort of theme or, keeping to one sort of idea. So you kind of, it is kind of one overall unique brand. But on the other hand, some people could see that as sort of limiting really as well and limiting your creativity with what you want to make. What do you think? Do you think it's good to diversify and try different things?
I think that it's good to have a brand identity, but if you are constantly creating and making new things and learning, then change is probably it's inevitable. You're gonna learn different ways of making things, doing things, find different things that start to inspire you. So I think it's good to have your own sort of identity and things that you value and are like common occurrences within your work. But if you are creating and learning all the time, change will happen, your work will develop, and I think you should be open to that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. So another question I wanted to ask you is about your materials, really, because material is a really important aspect of what you do, you know. Uh, that's where your designs appear and exist, is with material, you know, together. And I was wondering really how you go about sourcing your materials. I don't know if that's maybe a silly question or not, but like for
No,
me,
not at
it's
all.
if I want to make something, I just go to the, you know, art shop, or, you know, wherever I can get some art supplies. But I suppose for printing on textiles and things, you've sort of got to source that from somewhere as well. And I was wondering what you do really. Where do you get your materials from?
Um, so in terms of fabric, I do at the moment, I will tend to buy either from the university directly, or there is a local tailors in Leeds that I will use. I find with fabric it's good to buy it in person because you can really see the colour and how it feels and how heavy it is and how, you know, like the weight of the fabric and how like sort of flexible it is, I suppose. So I do try and buy all my fabric online. Um, sorry, in person. In terms of like other materials like zips and buttons and odd like bits like that, I do spend a lot of time researching online to try and find the perfect thing that I need, but wherever I can, I try to buy locally. I am really picky about like colours and textures and trying to get everything perfect. So I do spend a lot of time like deliberating over these things. But equally, as a student, I am also looking for resources that are accessible to me in terms of like price wise and travel, you know, being able to get to the shops and stuff. So I sort of do the best with what I have like available to me at the time. I've been one time to a place called Fabworks in Dewsbury, and they have like remnant fabrics. That's great. So I really enjoyed visiting there, but it's not easy for me to get to. So I just have to do what I can at that time. That's
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, no, that's really great summary. Really, you're doing what you can. Really, with it all depends on your budget, really, and how
Yeah.
much you can spend and use. Obviously, if you're a student, then for some people that is not a lot, really, but you have to sort of make do. And I suppose university facilities are really good with that as well. They sometimes offer you the materials even at discounted prices, so it's really good to take advantage of that. And I think sourcing locally is a big thing, and it also links to sustainability as well, doesn't it?
It
About,
does.
you know, how far do you have to travel to get your materials from and things. But yeah, no, that's really good, and I'm glad you're making it work.
Yes, I am. I mean, I do as well in my work. I use a lot of specialist like finishers and binders and things like flock, which sort of um, gives your prints like a velvety sort of texture, and foil, so to make things nice and shiny. And at the moment, I do mostly just buy those directly from the university because they do sell them at a discounted price, like at cost price for the students. But at the moment, I'm using that much of it, making stuff that I think I'm going to have to start looking to buy it directly from the supplier myself because the university can't keep up with the demand of
No.
buying all the materials all the time. Because I mean, I'm trying to get my own like small business going at the same time as studying, so I am making like quite large quantities of like prints and products to be able to sell. So yeah, it's a work
Right.
in progress.
No, that's really good. No, it's great to hear as well that you're wanting to start your own business. And you know, you've already sold some of your products, for example, you know, at art markets, at the
Yeah.
university and things like that, at shows and things like that. So I think that's a really good way to get your name out there and things like that. And I've seen some of your little like plant pot things
Yeah.
as well that you sell. I think those look really amazing. And you know, they're just really unique about how you can flat pack them and then sort of assemble them once you get them. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
and also you're creating all sorts of different things like wheat packs as well,
Yes.
and just little pouches. Those look really, really great and useful, really. I
Thank
suppose a lot
you.
of people could, you know, buy that, and it's multifunctional and they can use it for anything that they need, really.
Yeah,
So
that's the sort of idea of things like the like plant pots. You could put a plant in it, you could put other things in it. The pouches are pretty multifunctional. The microwavable wheat packs, they're a new product that I've only just made. That less multifunctional, but it's good to know if you've got a headache, any aches or pains, you can put them in the microwave to be warm, or put them in the fridge so they're nice and cold.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm always trying to expand my product range. And I'm testing making like new different products all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, it's really inspiring to see what you come up with, and all the different products that you do create, And yeah, I'm just wondering where you're going to store it all, really.
Yes, I'm quite lucky to have my own the spare this is a spare bedroom in my
Yeah,
house, and it is now my a little home studio.
yeah,
But yeah, so I might run out of space eventually, but for
yeah.
now it's all right.
For now, it'll
Hopefully
do.
I'll sell it, and then and then I won't run out of space.
Exactly. Right. So another question of mine is sort of we're talking about, sort of where we are at the moment, but in I don't know, 5, 10 years time, somewhere in the future, is do you have like anything that you would sort of want to achieve project wise, or any ideas that you'd want to have realized? Or like what would be your dream sort of project or career? Like where do you see yourself?
So dream career, I would really like to be a part-time print technician, or teaching print workshops, like screen print workshops with people, and also part-time self-employed, just making, selling my own work, sort of working freelance. That would be the goal for me, I
Hmm.
think. Um, because I think it's nice to work for yourself, but also you still need to have that connection to other creative people and be part of the industry. And I enjoy talking to people about their current projects and what they're up to, and like bouncing ideas off of each other. So I think working also part-time as a sort of print technician or teaching workshops, that would allow me to still have that connection to the industry. And then also part-time give me the freedom to make and do whatever I want. In 5 years time, I'd like to think that I've achieved that, and maybe also like regularly attending makers markets like a few times a month or so, and having like my own online store, and definitely sort of working towards that now. I've got work placements going on and trying to build up that experience. So I'm working on it.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like a project that I would really like to do, I am already working on my next project, which will be sort of my next module at university in my final year. So that project's going to be exploring the sensory aspect of textiles. So like I
Oh,
said, I do a lot of specialist binders and flocks and things like that within my work. So it'll be
yeah.
about, I want to push that further and sort of see about um, tactile experiences of textiles. And as an autistic designer, that is something that is quite personal to me. So I want to, yeah, sort of explore how we can use textiles to be quite calming and grounding, and like bring us back in connection with our environment.
Wow. No, that is great. And, it's really inspiring to hear all that and all your future, goals. And I really do hope you achieve them. And you're already taking steps towards them, really. You're already, making products, you're already selling them. So you're sort of really halfway there, really.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you're working on it, but you're doing a really great job, in my opinion.
Thank you.
But like you mentioned with the sort of creative sort of community, or a sphere of creative people, I feel that's quite important as well, especially as a creative, because you're doing it, if you're doing it every day as your sort of career, as being self-employed, then, especially when you leave university, I feel like university is sort of like the hub where you sort of go to, and, that's where all the creativity happens, and that's where you
It
get
is where
exposed.
your network, yeah.
Yeah, but then sort of, yeah, I think you have to build sort of your own network after you leave, and maybe keep in contact with people that you're in contact with now in the university, and not really lose that, because yeah, I feel like it's really needed to sort of inspire, keep each other going, motivate each other. But yeah, that's really nice. And hopefully, I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
And hopefully, you'll get there. You will get there.
I will. I'm working hard.
Yeah, yeah. I could definitely tell through you're creating so much and you're always on your Instagram, keeping it updated and things
Yeah,
like that.
that's the hardest part, I think, remembering to post on Instagram.
Oh yeah, I definitely know what you mean. I'm not the best at it. But yeah, it's just the amount of work it takes for a little like 30-second
Yeah,
reel is yeah, it's a
I think
lot.
it's part of, you don't just have, you're self-employed as a designer, but that also means you have to sort of be a content creator as well to sort of get your name out there and get people seeing
Exactly.
work. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to get a little bit better at over the summer while the pressure of like uni deadlines aren't looming. I'll work on like getting better at my Instagram and marketing and
Yeah.
things like that. So it's all, baby steps towards the
Yeah.
end goal.
Yes, I think also you can't expect too much from yourself. I mean, you are doing a full-time course, you're working in the meantime, you're creating and selling your own things and then keeping up on Instagram and your website and everything. It can all be a bit too much, especially as a single person doing it. But yeah,
Yeah,
maybe hopefully in the future you could, I don't know, maybe hire an assistant or
that would be
someone else
nice.
to help you. Yeah, that would be great as well. But yeah, it's just remembering what your priorities are, I think, and just, you know, remembering to take care of yourself. Don't forget about yourself in all of the madness around you.
Definitely. I am known for doing that. So yeah, that's something I'm working on as well, looking after my own well-being as well while I'm working, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And I think your dog can be a big help for that, I
Yes,
suppose, going
he's
out for
great.
walks, we're taking a break, we're going for a walk and
He's great. He's my little studio assistant.
oh, there you go. You already have one. Yeah, no, I think it's really good for mental health just to take a break and for creativity as well. I think you can't force creativity out of you; it just doesn't work.
No.
No. So, what sort of 3 tips would you give for people sort of wanting to, I don't know, go into a creative sort of, I don't know, they want to study something creative or they want to find their own creative side within themselves and they want to, start being creative. I don't know, it's just sort of like, what 3 general creativity tips would you give to someone to sort of stay creative or find that creativity within them?
It's definitely a tough question.
Yeah,
I think I'd have to say definitely start by like doing your research, seeing what's out there. If you're talking about people at high school and things, you want to find out about the different courses and opportunities that are available to you, and don't feel like you have to stick to what your school is advertising to you, like the usual route of going straight to sixth form. In terms of people that are already creative, I'd say continue to talk to other creative people, make the create most of the creative environments and spaces that you have, your print room, your university studio, spend lots of time there and just immerse yourself in the environment and bounce ideas off people. I think that's where you sort of get the most inspiration from. Um, and I would definitely say just keep going with it. I seem to have like this rhythm of doing one project that I like and then one that I don't like very much, and then one that I do and one that I don't. And I try not to get disheartened when I do a project I'm not very happy with the outcome, because ultimately, even if I haven't, I don't like it, I've at least learned what I don't like.
yeah,
And I know
exactly.
in the future to avoid that. Yeah, I mean, in terms of staying creative at the moment, I'm quite lucky that I have my university setting me allocate time. Your new project starts now, it ends this day. You've got to get your work done. Here's an
Yeah,
interim assessment, like midpoint. We want to see what you're doing. When I graduate, that's something I'll have to learn myself, how to sort of keep up that pace of creating. But yeah, I'm sure all these things come with time and practice,
yeah,
and just really
definitely.
trying to put yourself out there and persevere with it all.
Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned as well, with having that creative community and people around you, that helps as well, sort of you
Definitely,
motivating
yeah.
each other, and that will be a big help as well, because creativity, I don't know, someone said that either in my uni or somewhere else, that creativity doesn't happen in a vacuum, that you definitely do need people for inspiration and just different perspectives as well, because sometimes you can't see something yourself, but someone else can have a totally different interpretation, or they can see something else that you can't. So yeah, I think that's definitely important, and those are really great 3 tips.
Thank
and
you.
um, and hopefully that'll help a lot of people out there. So thank you so much for speaking with me today,
No
and I've
problem.
really enjoyed hearing about your journey, where you're going, everything that you're doing, and it all sounds really, really exciting. And I really wish you all the best with
Thank
whatever
you.
else
It's
you've got
been really
planned for
nice.
the summer. And where can people find you if they want to keep up to date with what you're up to?
Yeah, so best place is probably my Instagram, which is just at Sophie Amelia Design.
Yeah.
But I also have a website, which is sophieamelia.co.uk. Um,
Okay.
that's probably
Great. Those are
places.
the 2 best places. Great. Right. We're just on time as well.
Yes.
Right. And I'll link those in the description below so people can find you and read all about what you're up to. And thank you so much again for being my guest. I feel really inspired, coming away from this conversation. It's given me a lot to think about as well, in terms of where my practice is going, what I would like to do. And thank you so much for coming today.
No
And
worries. Thank you
hopefully,
for having me.
hopefully see you soon, hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely. Well, thank you very much again, and we'll see you later.